as the lifting of petrol commenced at the Dangote Refinery and Petrochemical Company in Lagos with about 300 trucks from the nation's oil company, which arrived at the refinery on Saturday. Dangote Refinery has faulted a claim by NNPC Limited that it loaded petrol from the refinery at 898 naira per litre. Dangote, in a statement by Anthony Chiejina, Group Chief Branding and Communications Officer, described the claims as misleading and mischievous. Earlier, Mr. Oluwafemi Shoneye, Chief Corporate Communications Officer of NNPC Limited, reported that he bought the product at 898.78 per litre. Meanwhile, opposition political parties in Nigeria, under the aegis of Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, in a statement by its National Secretary Peter Ame on Sunday, questioned the fuel price, which it says undermines the benefits of having a refinery in the country. The group rejected the price of 898 per litre of fuel from the local entity, Dangote Refinery, describing it as unjustifiable, especially without tariffs, landing costs, and port charges. The CUPP further stated that the disclosure by NNPC Limited should be subjected to an immediate probe by the National Assembly to unravel the secrecy around fuel prices. Joining us now on the morning show is Olabode Sowunmi, Chairman, Energy Transition Study Group of Nigerian Gas Association and CEO, CAP3. He's joined by Akimbode Oluwafemi, Director, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation, Africa, CAPA, and Kevin Emmanuel, an economist. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the morning show. So let's start with general statements, good morning, Doctor. More or less opening statements on the significance of the fact that after 28 years, Nigeria now has a refinery, private initiative, 650,000 liters capacity, the single largest train refinery in the whole world, and the fact that now, NNPC Limited, which says it's a willing buyer, willing seller proposition, has lifted fuel, the significance. And then this dangerous, back and forth about pricing, which are the two major issues that we have on the table. One, the refinery coming into the market. Two, the argument about pricing. So I'll just go, one after the other. Let's start with you, Akimbode Oluwafemi, who is with us here in the studio in Lagos. Then we'll go to Abuja studio with Olabode Sowunmi and Kevin Emmanuel. Let's start with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. I think Nigerians have a reason to give a sigh of relief that petrol is there by the Lekki export processing zone. However, it's actually a very sad story that NNPC, which used to operate 4 refineries, about 25 depots and pipelines across the country, it's actually sending tankers to go and take products from a private refinery. Number two that concerns us principally is that the world itself is a period of energy transition. And when you want to look at development on the long term, it is a significant shift now from combustion engine. People are shifting. Europe will make a significant shift by about 2035. And here we are still struggling with how to get fossil fuel into cars and power our engines. So for us, we look at both the developmental concern, the environmental concern, and the nation that needs to be projecting into the future. And I must also say this, that what we've seen in the past few days is symbolic of how powerful commodity traders are globally. And when you have an opaque system and a corrupt system of regulators, the people will be at the receiving end. And we're beginning to get there in terms of the reality of what this refinery means to Nigeria. I don't really see any significant change, unfortunately.
Well, Olabode Sowunmi, do you agree with Akimbode's position that he doesn't seem to see any significant change?
Well, Well, I mean, the glass is half empty or half full, whichever way you look at it. It's not my place really to agree with him or to disagree with him. I am a scientist, I'm an engineer, and I do business consulting and analysis for the industry. So my primary purpose is to look at the facts of the matter, try and break it down, and then everybody can make up whatever they want to with the facts of the matter. Now, NNPC has been importing for, I think, probably since the 80s, when during the Babangida era. That was also to cushion the fact that local production could not meet what was available nationally. In the 90s, particularly during the June 12 crisis, there was a number of infrastructure that was dilapidated and less concerns, well destroyed, not dilapidated really, and less concerns was paid to how the nation actually was energy sufficient, which has led us over the years to where we found ourselves. It's important to note that for some period during the Obasanjo administration, and I think during the Jonathan administration, the refineries did work, and they did produce a few of the distillates. So since then, they have been importing. So whether they're importing from a local refinery in country or they are importing for an external refinery, they've always been importing. And that's about the fact of the matter there. The other issue with respect to energy transition and all that is that there is the science of energy transition, and then there's the politics of it. So the science speaks to the fact that the way we currently use energy as the world, as a global society as we know it, cannot continue that way, except we will destroy the earth. But the politics of it speaks to the fact that certain people who should bear the responsibility more than others, but that's a totally different discussion. Nigeria is a signatory to the COP, and we have dedicated this decade as the decade of gas because we have chosen that gas is our fuel of choice for energy transition. And that has been proven and accepted globally, which is part of the reason why there's an encouragement for people to convert their vehicles to auto gas, which basically speaks to the CNG-powered facilities. But above all, when we talk about the things that affects, where the rubber touches the road, the thing that affects Nigerians, which is the pricing. Business people will do business. And part of doing business means making profit. So it is expected that whether it's the NNPCL, which is now working as a limited liability, or Dangote Refinery, they will do business and they will make profit. It is incumbent upon them to save Nigerians from the drama and be more transparent in the things so that we can make up our minds as to what is really happening among them. That will be my submission.
Okay, Kevin Emmanuel, your view, opening statements, as I called it.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. Good morning. I will first of all pick on what Olabode Sowunmi said about gas transition. Today, Nigeria has a daily output of 4.5 billion standard cubic feet of gas. Yep. NLNG, under the export pricing framework, uses 2.5 billion standard cubic feet of gas. NLNG needs 3.5 billion standard cubic feet of gas. That's why it's at 65% capacity utilization. Under the domestic gas delivery obligation sections 108 of the PIA, Nigeria is not even able to supply the domestic market because of pricing issue, regulated price part versus willing producers price part. On the issue of CNG, and this is why I've said that the presidential CNG initiative is a failure from the beginning. Without high-pressure transmission pipes around Nigeria, AKK is stalled. AKK, you can see that is still around 70% success rate, project completion schedule. The whole of the Southeast does not even have a pipe running through it. The 121-kilometer pipe proposed for the Southeast, NNPC has not brought it to FID. If you rely on a strategy that transports compressed dry gas as CNG in skids from one part of the country to the other through diesel trucks, it defeats the purpose of CNG because there's a cap of 500 kilometers for trucking CNG. So the moment for Dangote Refinery is here is today. Nigeria's decade for backward integration through import substitution for refining crude oil into PMS, Jet A1, diesel, bitumen binders, refinery gases, base oil for lubricants, petroleum coke is today. Now let's go to the facts of the matter. Yesterday, the government said that they took 16.8 million liters. But the reality is that yesterday, only about 110 to 120 trucks came to the Dangote refinery at that gantry that is shown now on the screen to take products from the gantry. The government, let's go back to history, Dr. Abati. In 2002, Nigeria was consuming 21 million liters of PMS daily. In 2003, it went up to 25 million liters of PMS daily. In 2008, it went up to 28 million liters of PMS daily. In 2009, it went up to 29.1 million liters of PMS daily. Dr. Abati, I calculated, compound average growth rate between 2002 and 2009 was 11%. Between 2009 and 2024, that number has gone from 29.1 million liters to 70 million liters per day, 234% increase. Can the government provide empirical evidence in the number of cars, in the population growth rate, the number of motorcycles, the number of tricycles to justify that jump? Is that the reason why the government is not able to provide subsidy for the markets? The statement that they accredited to the NNPC is simply trying to blame Dangote for the increase in PMS. But you can't blame Dangote because if you calculate the fact that NNPC was landing dirty fuels, by the way, dirty fuels that were blended and transshipped in Malta and Lome at 70 cents per litre, yeah, at 1,165 naira to 1,170 naira per litre, yeah, and Dangote is selling a litre of PMS at 55 cents per litre. If Dangote was to export a litre of PMS based on international pricing for gasoline, in Ghana, he'll be selling at $1.20. In Singapore, he'll be selling at $2.50. In Canada, he'll be selling at $1.50. He's bending over backwards because even the PMS NNPC is taking today, they don't have the cash to pay. They had to structure a letter of credit through a multilateral development bank I won't mention. Because they are owing $6.8 billion to international traders that they don't have the crude oil or the cash to pay. So Dangote has come at the nick of time to save Nigeria. But you have a situation where NNPC is blaming him. It's a regulated market. Dangote is not responsible for setting the price of PMS. Right. If the government wants to deregulate the market, FEC should send a memo to the Minister of Petroleum and instruct NNPC to obey Sections 205 and Sections 206 of the PIA to deregulate the market. It's a regulated market.
Okay.
The crude oil that Dangote is using in September of 2024, 5.3 million barrels of crude oil was sold by NNPC in US dollars, not in Naira. The remaining 9.7 million barrels was imported from America and Brazil in US dollars. And Dr. Abati, the demand for dollar to import crude oil feedstock by a commercial refiner and the demand to import dirty refined petroleum products into Nigeria takes 40% of that demand pressure in the FX markets on a daily basis. Okay? Right. So if, for example, you're selling crude oil to him in US dollar, let's say, for example, Dr. Abati, you're Dangote, I am NNPC. I want to buy 1 million barrels of crude oil from you at 1580, 1,580 naira to a US dollar.
Okay, Mr. Emmanuel.
You expect me to buy at a particular rate and sell to you in naira?
All right. Without
forward contracts to hedge the price. So if, for example, between the period you buy the crude oil from me, you refine, you sell the PMS, dollar moves from 1580 to 1650. Who covers the difference? Because of the liquidity in the foreign exchange market today, no financial institution will provide counterparty cover for you to cover foreign exchange risk.
All right. Okay, Mr. Emmanuel,
so the reality of the matter is that NNPC cannot shift the blame for pricing of PMS to Dangote when it's in fact in the position of the government to set the price of PMS. That will be my opening statement.
All right, thank you for your opening statement. Okay, so let me just ask you, you paint this picture and I hear you that when you compare prices, Nigeria, Dangote is a private company and they're looking to make profit. At the end of the day, what is in it for them? So is it just their magnanimity towards Nigeria and Nigerians? Why are they willing, or would they be willing to sell to NNPCL at this price and without even getting a guarantee or just getting a letter of credit without cash on hand? What's the incentive for them? Because if you're saying all these things, it's fantastic, but at the end of the day, and like we've talked about a number of times, they're in this for profit. So what is the need for Dangote? You know, what's the incentive for them to be so magnanimous? That's my question to you, Mr. Emmanuel. For Mr. Akinbode, I'm going back to your talk around the... Hold on, just 1 second. I would ask you, I'll come back to you, Mr. Emmanuel. For Mr. Akinbode, my question to you would then be, you talk about the refineries and good point you make there, that it is quite sad to see that we now queue, NNPCL has sent trucks to queue at a private refinery when we have 4 refineries that have been said a number of times that they will come on stream. what would be the impact of these, at least even one? Let's say the Port Harcourt following its mechanical readiness to come on stream. Once it's finally ready, what would be the impact of that, especially on price in Nigeria and supply as well? Let me start with two of you first of all, and then we'll move on later on. I'll start with you, Mr. Kelvin.
On Port Harcourt Refinery?
No. The first question I asked you, what's in it for Dangote? Because you talk about, how they've been able to, despite the price they would get in other international markets, selling at a cheaper rate to NNPCL and all that. What's in it for them? Why is it just because they want to help with Nigeria's energy security?
Well, first of all, Dangote is currently at 70 to 75% capacity utilization, which means he's able to do between 38 and 40 million litres of PMS. NNPC says they'll be taking 25 million litres of PMS. But yesterday, the opening day, NNPC didn't take more than 5 million litres of PMS. NNPC says it's going to continue to import. The difference between the margin for the refiner is anywhere between 46 cents and 55 cents, which is a very tight margin by any stretch of it. So, yes, of course, he's not a charity and he's making very thin margins. But let us not forget the fact that he's actually buying crude oil in US dollar. The so-called Naira for crude, Naira for PMS crude oil swap the government technical subcommittee is proposing is supposed to resume on the 1st of October. NNPC is projecting that in the month of October, it's going to supply Dangote about 11.2 to 11.3 million barrels of crude oil. That arrangement has not started. The crude oil feedstock he's using to refine today was purchased from both NNPC and imported into Nigeria from North America and South America in US dollars. And he cannot be selling to NNPC in Naira. Plus, he's not responsible. He's not the federal government of Nigeria. He's not responsible for setting the pump price. On the Port Harcourt Refinery, I'm not very optimistic. And it's always been my view that following the fact that 18 years ago, the privatization of Port Harcourt Refinery was botched to the Blue Star Consortium, and you've had the drama, you've missed like 8 deadlines. NNPC has missed 8 deadlines and has spent about $4.5 billion on those dead moribund refineries that I don't think is going to come to life. And even if it comes to life, it's not going to produce for more than 6 months, and it's not going to function at more than 50% efficiency rate. Yeah, I'm not very optimistic. If NNPC is so short, they should go ahead and come and compete. Okay,
so the same question to you, Mr. Sowunmi and Mr. Oluwafemi. I'll start with you, Mr. Oluwafemi in studio, and then Mr. Sowunmi, the same question around the refineries.
Well, first, let me just say that at the end of it all, it's about the Nigerian people. It's about the Nigerian citizens. People want to be able to drive to a gas station and buy gas at reasonable prices. And so the biggest question that the Dangote refinery has not answered is exactly what is the price of Dangote PMS at that refinery? How much is he selling to NNPC? Naira is a legal currency, dollar is a legal currency, there is a legal or there is a daily government rate, exchange rate. Of course, even if you say you're selling in dollar, at what exchange rate, and then you translate it into Naira. I mean, we're talking as if our Naira is no longer a legal tender, it's no longer a currency. What we need is the baseline. What is the exact cost of 1 litre of Dangote petrol at that refinery? And if you check all the statements that had come out of the Dangote refinery from Anthony Chijuka or something like that, none ever say exactly the price at the refinery. Let me remind us that when Dangote started pumping diesel, immediately they said our diesel is going to be 1,100 per litre. We have dropped it now to 900 naira per litre. Why can't we have that from Dangote? And then we can then go to NNPC and say, look, this is how much you're buying. And this is how much even at dollar, how much did Dangote refinery sold? How much did they sell it to NNPC? Even in dollar, then we can do the conversion and have an idea. Look, this is an opaque and oily business. There are things they are hiding from us, both the NNPC and Dangote refinery. And Nigerian people are just at the middle. Do you understand? Which is basically, if Dangote is selling at these rates, Dangote wants us to see that, oh, he's so magnanimous. He has gone to put a refinery and export a refinery. So without telling us he's not paying taxes over a very long period, maybe forever, you know, without looking at the fact that he cited the refinery at the biggest market in Africa. I mean, corporations always give this impression that they are doing us a favor. They are a business. They want to make money. If there is no market, he won't be doing this business. Let's get that far straight. Now, back to Port Harcourt Refinery. It is so sad that they kept on moving the day of production. They promised us by this August that Port Harcourt will begin to produce PMS. They also said worry will follow after. I followed that statement. Only for us to get to August now, and the new statement is that government is looking for third parties to come and manage the refinery. This has been the sad story over the years. And you begin to see a government that doesn't seem to have an economic blueprint for anything. We're just, I mean, it seems as if we're just in the fire brigade approach to all the things that we're doing, you know?
All right. Okay.
I can't see anything coming very soon also from those refineries.
All right, Mr. Sowunmi, very quickly, your take on this as well.
Okay, first of all, Dangote Refinery completed its mechanical works, and it took them 14 months, a little over 14 months and some weeks for them to start to flare and to start to produce distillates. If Dangote were gold standard in terms of what should be done, in terms of operational efficiency and all that, and it took them a little over 14 months, the Port Harcourt refineries, by what you have even said, completed mechanical works in December. Why do we think it's going to take not about the same period of time? But that's just food for thought. One of the things that is important to note is that there are problems that are technical, which are mechanical, and there are problems that are human. Part of the human problems is not actually dissecting the problems enough to look at the issues, but have dissection and looking for scapegoats or miracles. So we have a Messiah complex where we think that one person can solve all the problems, or we have a scapegoat where we think that one person is responsible for all the problems. But what that denies us, what that bedevils us, is that we are not able to really look at our issues in a way that we can actually solve them. So you see about the refinery, it is important, very important, by everyone concerned that is a stakeholder, that more information is made available, more analysis of the issues are done so that people can make up their mind. This idea that the refinery can never work because it's because of NNPC, or that the refinery will work for only 6 months and collapse, does not do justice to Nigeria, Nigerians, and our future as a whole. So it is incumbent upon us to actually know what is happening and do proper analysis. With respect to the Dangote refinery themselves and NNPC and the drama, part of the problem is also how the issues are being reported. Because the issues are being reported in such a way that Nigerians expected that Dangote will kind of provide a kind of subsidy. Because it doesn't take too much intelligence to note that the price of the commodity, which you can gauge globally, it has not significantly changed. What has changed is the naira to the dollar. And if subsidy were to be removed today, and tomorrow the naira to the dollar rate falls, and we are still selling it at the price of today, it means that that price, no matter how we feel, is being subsidized. So those are facts of the matter that have not been properly interrogated. So as it is, there is a disconnect between the expectations of Nigerians in terms of reality and players who are playing politics with the mind of Nigerians. People should not be confused at all. There is a price to petrol. Anybody selling it below that price, for them to sell it below that price, somebody somewhere is taking that cost. It's either the seller is giving a discount, or the person that is doing the marketing is selling at a loss. But if there is no congruence, no alignment between the actual cost of producing a product and the price with which we are selling it, there is somebody taking the cost. And if we are not expecting that reality, then we are putting our head in the stands. Those are some of the things that we need to look into, dig into the facts, so that Nigerians can make up their mind for themselves.
Okay. I'm going to come in here by saying, as it is today, even with this Dangote price, correct me if I'm wrong, there's still subsidy being paid. Have we been able to tell Nigerians, and this is the first question to you, I'd like to come to you, Mr. Kevin, because there's a lot of things I want to interrogate with you. Have we been able to tell Nigerians how much of that subsidy is still coming on? I would still say probably more than half. I was in Kenya some weeks ago. Petrol price was 190 shillings. That's over 2,000 naira. So I still feel there's a subsidy being paid. Secondly, I feel there's a lot of confusion because people are chopping from this system. And that's the sad reality of Nigeria. And I think it was Mr. Olabode that was saying, food for thought. If the NNPC refinery, that it was said that Dangote took 14 months to be able to break out and start working, and NNPC refinery said, and we did mechanical completion in December, we should know that it should probably take around the same time. I disagree with you, sir. Because the NNPC has lied to us. They lied in March that by April, things were going to start. So is the word of the NNPC Nigeria is taking face value. In fact, you can go and check. As at that March, they announced that they have kept aside 450,000 barrels stock for that refinery. Then they pushed it to July. From July 9th, it's been pushed to August. So it's not that Nigerians are being wishful in their thinking. Nigerians have been constantly lied to. And I want you to speak as regards that line. Then I will come to you, sir, and ask the question you asked before. From Mr. Kevin, how much is Dangote selling this crude to NNPC? I mean, this petrol per litre. Because we need to know. We didn't get anything from Dangote. NNPC is saying a certain amount. Then secondly, I see that Dangote Refinery is using the Platt model of computation. If you and I know what the Platt model is, it's a model that is empirically constantly doomed to change based on variations. So is it that prices will keep changing and rising using this Platt model of calculation that is very subject to some level of change constantly? Mr. Kevin, that's for you as we speak.
Rufai.
I will also top it up by asking,
Rufai,
can you tell us what it comes down to the production cost in the Dangote refinery? That's for you, Mr. Kevin. If you answer that, then I come to Mr. Olabode and situate the question properly.
Rufai, so first of all, I need you to understand that the Dangote refinery is brand new, so the efficiency rate is very high because you don't have efficiency losses like an old refinery. So it makes sense for him to bend over backwards to produce his unit cost at anywhere around 45 to 46 cents per litre, which is a very huge discount, and sell to NNPC ex-refinery price at 55 cents per litre, considering that NNPC was supervising over imports of very dirty fuels that were transshipped through blending at 70 cents per litre of 1,665 to 1,160 to 1,170 naira per litre. Okay? Rufai, the question we have to ask here, and we have to jointly ask the Nigerian government, is the daily consumption of PMS at 70 million litres per day, does it have a bearing on the inability of the government to apply a subsidy for the recommended retail price for petrol? Number one.
But they have said that number has gone down, Kevin, now.
They've said that number has gone
down. They've said that number has gone down, that we don't consume up to 70 million litres again. They have constantly said it in many articles, that the number has gone down by over 30
last year, July, the government announced the number came down to 41 million litres.
Yeah.
But that number has since gone back up to 70 million litres per day. So that's the question we have to ask the government. Now, Mr. Olabode Sowunmi said that, rightly, that the major determinant, because the price of crude oil in the international market hasn't really changed much, which is true, the major determinant here is the FX rate. So if you have the 40% demand pressure from importers of PMS, diesel, other petroleum derivatives that form the energy basket, and now a crude oil refiner who has to import product from North America and Brazil to meet up with the deficiency, because even at 385,000 barrels per day, which the government assigned in its framework, Dangote still needs to import 265,000 barrels or source from local producers to meet up with the deficit, right? What is the price actually going to come to? If you don't supply him products in Naira and apply a swap, he can't supply you derivatives in Naira. That's just the way it is. Because you don't have any financial institution due to the illiquidity of FX markets in Nigeria.
So what's the price?
To provide counterparty guarantees
Mr. Kevin,
for FX rates.
So what's the price? What's the price and the production cost? That's just
the price is 55 cents per litre. That's the price at which NNPC...
Tell me in Naira.
But even at that 55 cents per litre, NNPC did not take the 16.8 million litres of PMS it had claimed it took yesterday.
Tell me in Naira, the cost NNPC, but because Dangote is saying they didn't sell at that cost. So at what cost did Dangote sell? No. What Dangote said in the press release is that the products were sold in US dollar. Okay? But the effective rate of that US dollar is 55 cents per litre, which is him bending over backwards for Nigerians. So please, for layman, we think in Naira. How much is that cost coming out per litre at the Dangote Refinery in Naira to the NNPC now? Maybe I'll give you a chance to think about it.
You saw the press statement that NNPC released.
Okay, it's fine.
You saw the press statement that NNPC released.
No, it's fine. Maybe you might not have the answers, but I get you, Mr. Kevin. Mr. Olabode Sowunmi, coming back. Okay, Mr. Akimbode, so sorry. Coming back to you, sir. The question to you will now be, how can we fix these inefficiencies that have made our national refiners moribund? This year alone, NNPC expended 4 trillion on these dead refineries that are not still working. That money is gone because we can't account for it. Where can we bring that technical efficiency to play in all of this? I understand we need to go for a quick commercial break. If my producers give me the go-ahead, I will take the break and I'll come back to you to answer these questions. Okay, welcome back to the show. So we're still having this conversation, trying to unravel prices and things like that, but we don't have a lot of time. Mr. Sowunmi, I'll come to you. Why is it that we cannot get efficiency and the confusion continues with the NNPCL? As against the point you were saying that you think, people are just, people just feel overtly suspicious of the NNPC. It's because they've given us reason to be suspicious over the years. And there's no one promise they've ever met. So how can we bring back that efficiency and governance?
Okay, so first of all, I did say people are overtly suspicious. And like I said, and I keep saying, I try to do my things simple and professional. People should make up their minds. When I said, so first of all, to the issue of the conflicting timelines, first of all, that is poor communication, any which way you look at it. So NNPC is faulty in that area. But I don't speak for NNPC. I don't work there. I've never worked there. So it is incumbent upon them to check within their system to see why there's such conflicting information. What I have said is a fact. And it is a fact that when you complete mechanical works, it takes a significant amount of time between the completion and production. This science is engineering. So it doesn't matter what anybody else says. Those are facts of the matter. If NNPC is saying something contrary to what is science, it's also incumbent upon all stakeholders, including the media, to dig into the facts of the matter and say that this is what science says, and science seems to disagree with what they are saying. That's just my own point there. That when we as Nigerians, and why I made that point was to that statement that the refinery can never work. I felt that that was a bit not right. And the only way that that can be put in place, where there can be a balance, is when people actually know what is the basics of the matter. And the basics of the matter is that it is a hydrocarbon processing plant. And hydrocarbon processing plants all over the world tend to function in a certain way. And they tend, in terms of best practice, tend to have this kind of timelines around it. That was just my own point there. The truth of the matter is that, like everybody has said repeatedly, is that the energy industry, particularly oil and gas, has been opaque, but it has been opaque for decades. So there is a need and a pressure for it to change, which every one of them is seeing, which is also at the foundation of the PIA. But culture change does not happen overnight, which is also important for it to be put in balance. That the culture, which is we could even call it a toxic culture, which has bedeviled us, is not going to change overnight. So there has to be clear expectations in terms of what we expect to happen there. The other side of it, which is where it really matters to everyone, where the rubber touches the road, is the price. And that price is not completely complicated to calculate. Whether it be the price for Dangote, whether it be the price for imported fuel, is that irrespective of whatever amount they buy the crude from, whether Brazil, whether the US, or wherever, crude oil is still a commodity. And like all commodities globally, they have certain characteristics. One of it is fungibility. One of it is also the price. One of it is also the price issue with respect to uniformity in price. But primarily and key is that whatever amount they are buying the crude is something that is known, that can be calculated. The cost of transportation can be calculated. The average cost globally of refining can be calculated. And on the basis of that, we can have an idea, not the exact amount, but an idea of what it costs Dangote to produce. And based on that, we can now look at it vis-a-vis. Yes, sir. Okay, well, we have to wrap this up because we still have other segments. But a parting shot. Now, NNPC Limited has said they bought at 898 Naira. Right? At what amount did Dangote Refinery sell to NNPC Limited? I've double-checked the Dangote Refinery statement by Anthony Chiejina. There was no mention of price there. And this morning we've been quoting, Dangote said they sold at 676 Naira. There's no such thing. So, Kevin Emmanuel, how do you arrive at your own, did you say 55? 55 cents. 55 cents. Yes. If you convert that, it will be almost the same amount as what NNPC Limited said they paid. There will be letters of credit. There will be foreign exchange calculations. So why is this confusion? Is anybody doing anybody a favor here? I doubt. I don't know whether anybody can quickly address that in less than a second. Kevin Emmanuel, how did you calculate 55 cents? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. All of a sudden, Kevin Emmanuel has... The line dropped. So sad. But that's a parting shot for all of you. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. It would have been really good to hear that response from Kelvin Emmanuel, since he was the only one who talked about the 55 cents. Hopefully we'll get a statement from him and then we'll be able to deliver that as to how he arrived at that amount of money from Dangote Refinery.